Look, there's so many new things. It's very hard to keep up. I think the thing that always fascinates me about LINNC is every time I come here, that it's bigger, it's better, there's more things to look at. There are no big advances this year that I've seen so far, but these things are always stepwise, and it's very reassuring talking to industry that they do have their sights set on developments in new technologies for liquid embolics in particular, which is something I use a lot of. But more broadly in the stroke arena, again, there's a lot of interest from industry in making our work easier and safer, and that's always very reassuring too. I think this is a terrific meeting. I come as often as I can. It is a long way for me to come, but I think it's a very unique opportunity to meet up with old colleagues, of course, meet new colleagues. Every year we meet new people who are coming into the field, and of course to see this beautiful city. It's possibly counter to what industry is all about in some ways. I mean, industry is obviously all about innovation and diverse technology. I notice around the world and certainly locally that more and more there are more operators doing the same number or slightly more procedures, so that everyone's doing maybe not as many procedures as they used to do. So I'm very interested in convergent technology, technology that has multiple uses for one tool rather than having 50 tools for one use. An example would be some of the dual lumen balloons that we use. We can use them for coils, for stents, for test occlusions, for liquid injections, for remodeling. They're a very good example of convergent technology, and I think that's something I've got a very keen interest in seeing industry move in that direction.
Can you give us other examples of convergent technology that you use or hope to use in the near future?
Look, I would say some of the flow diverters and braided stents would be reasonable examples of that. One thing we have seen is a proliferation in devices for use at bifurcations in aneurysms. In my humble opinion, I don't see a major role for some of these very niche devices. I think the flow diverters, all the braided technologies, in fact, provide very elegant solutions at the bifurcations for aneurysms in these locations. But I again say that industry seems to be currently very much focused on divergent technology, and I would like to see them be a bit more creative in thinking, can we do some things that, can we make a device that we can put in the hands of an operator where they can treat a dural fistula, treat an aneurysm, treat an AVM with this one device. I work in a couple of centres where there are very active general interventional departments, and some of the devices that we use on the neuro floor are finding the use in almost at the other end of the body, in prostate embolization, for example, or example of smaller vessels in the periphery. A lot of the liquid agents are obviously used in peripheral malformations or sites of bleeding in the periphery. So there is quite a lot of cross-pollination between neurotechnology and peripheral technology. There is a big problem, I think, with data collection and the role of data collection, particularly as technology tends to diverge at the moment. It's just simply impossible to run good quality randomised trials, which seems to be the benchmark, and quite reasonably so, to test out every new device that comes on the market. Equally, many devices which we as practitioners would consider line extensions of an old product, iterations of a stent or iterations of a balloon. It's not so much a problem in Australia, but I know in the US and Japan, for example, it's a very, very high bar to jump over to even get a simple line extension on a product to market because of the requirement for complex trials. So I think we do need, as a group of clinicians and perhaps in discussion with regulators, look at what those requirements are and how we can meet the needs of patients and concerned regulators as to how we can bring products to market quickly and safely without endangering patients. I like to think I'll still have a job in 10 years. Look, I think there is a role. It certainly may meet some of the needs of training new practitioners where volumes perhaps weren't as high as they used to be. I do think there will be an increasing demand for it from hospitals and institutions where interventional neuroradiology is practiced, for the simple reason that if something can be simulated even if it's 50% of reality, it's going to be very hard in future to justify putting devices into a patient for the first time without ever having done it on a simulator if that capability is available at a reasonable cost.